talking about the the news is offering that the Nuggets want to try to trade Ty Lawson to the Kings for the 6th pick overall, and there's been talk that Muade would fall that far after people assume that he might be as high as 3, maybe even as high as 2. We're talking about the kid who played in China that turned down the opportunity to play with SMU. He backed out of playing for Larry Brown because he wanted to turn pro and make money in China, and now he's considered from China. Every pre-draft prospectus I see said, and here's from China. We're not talking about a guy who played center for the Houston Rockets. We're talking about a guy who actually grew up in this country and was very impressive in China. Muade, is he worth trading up for? That'd be my first question. And 2, is anybody going to take Ty Lawson from the Nuggets for something valuable?
Yeah, Ty Lawson still has value, but in a point guard league, he's not in the elite anymore. Is he in the top 10, top 15?
I think you found it somewhere
10
between
to 15.
11 to 15.
And he gives you energy, he gives you pace, but he's not a leader. The one thing that bothers me about Ty Lawson at that position, I know I was at Broncos camp last year. Brian Shaw brought Ty Lawson out, had him meet Peyton Manning, told him watch how Peyton Manning runs practice, and kind of tried to forcefully push on him like this is how a leader runs a practice. And and not only did Lawson not take it seriously, he went backward last year in his leadership. Man, that missed practice after the All-Star game, I thought that was the beginning of the end of his career here. Would I trade him? Yes. Would I trade him for Muade? No. I would look for something else. But again, they're landlocked a little bit here, and if you want to change the culture, you're going to have to probably move out both Lawson and Fareed, aren't you, Woody?
Well, it leads us to, do you just totally break it apart and start over? I continue to mention that 11 of the 15 players they have under contract, Tim Connolly's responsible for. That's hard to believe. I mean, you have very few people left from before he got there, and you just mentioned 2 of them, and Gallinari is another one. And Wilson is, I'm losing it.
Chandler Wilson. Wilson Chandler.
Wilson Chandler.
Yeah.
One of the Wilson sisters. They used to be in Wilson, whatever it was. Wilson Chandler, who really never wanted to be here. You talk about not wanting to be here. He would love to be somewhere else. He even went off and played in China for a while and came back because he had nowhere else to go. So I think it's quite possible that Tim Connolly, if he wants his way, will want a totally new roster, 15 different players. We know they're going to get one more in the draft, at least one more, if they don't trade. How would you feel, and I feel strongly about this, how would you feel about them trading down and doing what they did last year and getting 2 players, 2 draft picks?
Well, I mean, I looked at the NBA draft the last couple of years. I mean, when you get past those first 5 picks, it's you're just kind of rolling the dice. I mean, that draft where Anthony Bennett was one of the worst drafts of all time. I mean, when you look at impact players but I don't like trading down in the NBA draft at all. I mean, if you're going to take your pieces, move all the way up and try to get somebody you can get excited about. I mean, if you're going to try to get Sam Decker and then another Gar, I mean, it's really, we've seen that play out. You way more than I have. It always looks good on paper. The other thing is, owners can be fooled by this. They fall in love with guys who do well in the NCAA tournament, like Frank Kaminsky and Decker. Oh, they'd be great. I saw them. I watched them. And then
Winslow,
they're not right. They're not necessarily impactful NBA players. So the Nuggets are in a tough spot. Clearly, they want to change the culture. They want to get guys that want to win. They want to care, but it's a talent-based business, Woody. And when you were talking about trading Lawson, let me ask you this. Are you saying they're going to take their 7th and Lawson to move up just 1 spot? Or they're keeping the 7 and just trying to get the 6 with Lawson?
Trade my pick and Lawson to get your pick.
Wow. It just seems like you could get more. That's a salary dump then, to move up 1 spot?
Well, I said yesterday, okay, there's talk that Sacramento wants Fareed in that deal.
Then you would do it just to get rid of Fareed's contract.
Well, then you get rid of both contracts. Both contracts are in the $13 million range. So you dump $26 million.
Okay,
now
I'm a little more on board with that. Get rid of both. Give them the 7th pick for Reed and Lawson for the 6th, just to completely start over. But that, again, Woody, that's the reset button. How many years then?
Yeah, but that sounds like when we talked yesterday about getting rid of Cargo and Tulo, and that's been a conversation around here for a year and a half. And someone said, well, what do you get for them? And I said, well, the number one aspect of getting rid of the two of them would be freeing up $38 million.
Right.
But that's why you do it. You would want some young talent in there, some young pitching talent. If you could get that, and I assume that you could, you've talked about catchers and other position players, but I would see Tulo for 3 pitchers, Cargo for a good young potential number 2 starter. And people go, well, that doesn't seem like enough. That's enough for me, because under normal circumstances, you would then turn around and use $40 million to go sign 3 or 4 really good free agents, particularly pitchers, that you could probably get for $10 million a year. The problem is we're not dealing with a usual suspect situation. We're dealing with the usual suspects out there who would say, oh, $30 million, here, how many pockets do I have? and so that to make the comparison there, what I'd like to see is you take the 2 of them and offer them to the Knicks for the number 4 pick, because there is talk on the street. I don't spend much time on the street. I spend it usually in the gutter. But on the street, there's talk that the Knicks are willing to deal if they don't get Towns, which they're not going to get. If they don't get Okafor or Russell. Russell's considered the top guard.
Kid from Ohio State.
If they can't get one of those 3, and I don't think that's going to happen, they want to trade back and get substance for it. Well, we can give you substance. We'll give you our draft. I'm now playing the role of general manager. Give you our draft pick. We'll give you Fareed. We'll give you Ty Lawson. We do a $26 million salary dump. We get the 4th player in the draft. I totally agree with you. Benjamin Hockman, and I give him credit, came on the show months ago and said there's never been anybody that's won a championship that was a leader of the team that was lower than a 6th overall draft pick. Well, the Nuggets, because they messed up at the end of the season and wouldn't pay attention to me and lose purposely, they finally got around to it too late. That's number 7. There aren't 7 game changers in the draft.